Welcome to my 5 different day trips from London. These are top destinations which are easily accessible from the capital of the UK, and I would highly recommend them either as individual day trips or as a 5 or 6 day loop. They work really well like that, and you could even use them as a base to go further afield, say down to Devon and Cornwall, into Wales, or even up to Scotland. So I hope you enjoy, and I hope these make your list because they are really some of the top destinations outside London.
My first recommendation is to visit the town of Windsor, and more specifically Windsor Castle that sits within it. Located only about 40 minutes from central London, there are major transport links to this town, so you have a number of choices. You can take the train from either Waterloo or Paddington. If you go from Waterloo, you go to Windsor Riverside, and if you go from Paddington, you go to Royal Windsor Station, which was specifically built to service the needs of Queen Victoria. You can drive down the M4, about 40 minutes to an hour dependent on traffic, or you can go on an organised coach tour. All of these are perfectly reasonable choices. However, I would say that parking in Windsor is a little bit restricted and very expensive. If you are going to drive and park, I would suggest you try the Home Park, which is only about 5 minutes walk up to the castle and is the largest and cheapest car park available. The major reason, of course, for visiting Windsor is to visit the castle itself. Windsor Castle is probably the most famous castle in the world. Whilst consistently being one of the top 5 tourist destinations in the UK, it is not cheap to actually enter. As well as getting to Windsor, you then have to pay the entrance fee, which for adults varies between £26 and £28 per person, depending on whether it's a weekday or the weekend. So if you're in a group or family, it can become very expensive. However, what you will see is the residence of the late Queen Elizabeth II, the state apartments, her grave in St George's Chapel, and of course St George's Chapel is also famous for the wedding of Harry and Meghan. The town of Windsor itself is also very historic, with late 17th century cobbled streets and buildings, excellent shops and restaurants, though again, like the castle, it's quite expensive. It's a little bit premium, so if you are visiting, be prepared for that. There are, however, a couple of free museums. You can see one here in the Guildhall. If you wish, you can also cross the river to Eton and visit Eton College. So all in all, this is an excellent day and will take a whole day should you wish to visit. My second recommendation is Bicester Discount Designer Shopping Village. This may sound like a slightly strange one on the face of it, a shopping centre, but it's located only about 6 miles from Oxford and is easily accessible from Oxford and other locations, as I shall discuss in a minute, and happens to be the number 2 Chinese tourist destination in the UK. Chinese love shopping and they love bargains, and Bicester Village is all about bargains. It's got about 160 to 170 designer outlets who sell their seconds and end-of-line stock at typically about a 40% discount. So if you like shopping, this is one to visit. However, I do caution, a bargain is still not necessarily cheap. This is expensive. You can drive easily in about 60 to 70 minutes from central London. There's plenty of parking. Or you can get the train from Marylebone Station in about 60 minutes to Bicester Village itself. It has its own station. Or you can get a coach from Oxford, an organised coach tour. So this is a very good destination should you go shopping. My third choice is to recommend visiting the world-famous medieval university town of Oxford. Located only about an hour from London on the train, or indeed in a car, it is easy to visit. However, in this case, I would recommend either a coach tour from London or the train, because Oxford City Council is very, very difficult with parking. The train you take from Paddington, and it's a direct line straight into Oxford, so it's very easy. If you are driving, I would recommend using one of the park and ride car parks located outside Oxford, and then taking the cheap bus into the centre. Oxford University was the first university established in the UK in about 1170, and at the heart of this city is a medieval fortress town that you must walk around. You can either walk around it yourself or you can take a guided tour. There are many guided walking tours which allow you to look at different aspects of this amazing city, often known as the City of Spires for very good reason. I would also recommend, however, that you take a bus tour, as this will allow you to go a little bit further afield outside Oxford and see areas that would be more difficult to visit on foot. And you get a unique perspective from the bus, as you can see, particularly if it's a nice day. But the walking tour will also allow you to access areas of the university that otherwise might be off limits to the general public. So you have plenty of choices here. There are lots of smart hotels available should you wish to stay the night in Oxford, and I would recommend it because it is a good place to base yourself if you then wish to visit, for example, the Cotswolds, which is really quintessential England and is my fourth choice. But we'll come to that in a minute. As you can see, the shopping and the centre of Oxford is very lively and is an excellent place to visit. I would highly recommend it, and along with Windsor, Oxford must be on your list of places to do should you come to the UK and wish to see the real England. Talking of the real England, my next destination is more of an area than a single location, that of the Cotswolds, designated an area of outstanding natural beauty. The Cotswolds is a large area of England located about an hour west of London as you drive, and essentially located between the towns of Oxford, Cheltenham and Bath. When people think of traditional medieval England, they may not know it, but they're often thinking of the Cotswolds region, which has this beautiful yellow Cotswold stone walls, beautiful little fords, old mill buildings, and quintessentially English villages and towns, which are again a must-do for anyone who wants to experience the beauty of England itself. Do not think trains here, however. The Cotswolds is virtually train-free. This is one where either you need an organised coach tour, which might be a day or even 2 days, with perhaps a stay in a nice countryside hotel such as the one we see here, or you hire a car and do it yourself. I would recommend either route. Personally, I love driving around the Cotswolds. It's incredibly safe, although the roads are quite small in some places, as you can see. And if you're in a car and you can explore, you come across some amazing villages and you have the freedom to move around as you wish. Some of these villages are very famous and very busy. Stow-on-the-Wold, Burford, Bourton-on-the-Water, for example. But other villages are incredibly quiet and just as beautiful and picturesque. And if you follow the road signs, you'll come across some amazing places. My final recommendation is the Regency town of Cheltenham, located to the west of the Cotswolds. This town is, again, easily accessible from London. It's approximately 2 hours on the train from Paddington, or if you are driving the Cotswolds, it's an ideal place to stay overnight, should you wish to experience a quintessential English Regency town. In fact, this is considered to be the best preserved Regency town in the United Kingdom. Regency towns having grown up around 1810 to 1820. It also has a famous racecourse, and if you have a chance to time it correctly, you can go to the Cheltenham races. The Cheltenham Gold Cup, for example, in March is particularly famous. Cheltenham is famous principally for its amazing architecture, but it's also the home of Gloucester University and is the festival capital of the Cotswolds. The Cheltenham Literature Festival, held in September, is perhaps the most famous of these, but there are numerous festivals including the Cheltenham Jazz Festival, the Cheltenham Film Festival and the Cheltenham Science Festival. So, provided you time your visit accordingly, there will always be something to see and do in Cheltenham, as well as amazing shopping and fantastic architecture and history to look at and review. Perhaps this isn't so good for children, but then none of these day trips are essentially fantastic for children. Children will find the castle interesting, but what you are getting here, particularly as a couple or an older family, is a real experience of England. And I would recommend Cheltenham for its restaurants, its shopping, and its lively cultural scene. So I hope you've enjoyed my 5 recommendations. You can see, come sun or snow, they are really worth visiting at any time of the year, and should you come to London, do seriously consider these destinations. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope you'll watch other videos and recommendations that I have. Thank you.